sex offenders coming in, of second intent to come in illegally to the United States, second offenders to come in illegally into the United States, pedophiles, people that they have found that with terrorist, background in their countries, violent crime, criminal activity in their countries. All these people are coming, massively through Arizona. That Arizona is having a big problem with this, Chuck. Huge problem with this, and a lot of it has to do with these NGOs that the cartel knows, Chuck, where they have an open border gap, and the cartel knows, I'm going to drop them off there. And if I'm dropping them off there, and there's going to be some people just giving them away, baby wipes, Pampers, waters, and this. That's where we're heading. So it is all by design, already created.
Okay, so we got to start over because I thought we were streaming, and we actually were not actually live. So everybody was waiting on us. So we just had a great conversation. All right, well, nice talking to you, Oscar. Talk to you next time. Okay, so definitely not up to your standards. Definitely not up to your standards. All right, so hey folks, how's it going? Chuck Holton here, and this is my good friend Oscar Blue Ramirez. Oscar is a very intrepid Mexican journalist who is one of the smartest people I know, and that's because he listens to me when I tell him to do things.
Exactly.
So Oscar lives in Mexico, lives in Tijuana. Folks, if you don't understand what an incredible thing it is for a guy like Oscar to be a journalist in Mexico. Like I was saying, being a journalist in Mexico has about the same life expectancy as being an ice cream cone in Joe Biden's house. So it's a very dangerous job in Mexico. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Oscar because he goes into the Caravans. He's been through the Darien Gap in Panama multiple times. He's been through firefights. He's been, threatened, and he still keeps telling the truth. And so Oscar is definitely the guy you want to listen to when it comes to talking about the immigration crisis. Some people call it an invasion. I think it's more like an invitation because, folks, this is the kind of thing, what we're seeing down there at the border is a direct and intentional result of the Biden administration's policies. And I want to get into, Oscar, talking a little bit about why the Biden administration wants to have so many people in here. But before we get into that, I want to just talk about what you and I have done together. Now, Oscar and I have been together in Mexico. We have reported together on the crisis from Panama. We've been to France together, Netherlands together. We went to Ukraine and Poland together, all reporting on immigration. And there is no more intrepid journalist that I think I know in the world than Oscar Blue Ramirez. So we're trying to get Oscar to come to Armenia and take a look at a different kind of migrant crisis, and that is that all of the people that are fleeing the war in Ukraine, both Russians and Ukrainians, are coming to Armenia. And then you have people fleeing the unbelievable tyranny in Iran coming to Armenia. And so it's a whole different facet of illegal migration. And so we're trying to get him there on one of our trips. The only way to do that is to raise the money to get him there. So anything we raise on today's broadcast, we're going to use to help Oscar get to Armenia so he can join us on one of our trips. So if you guys feel generous today, we're going to raise the money that it takes Oscar to buy a plane ticket and get to Armenia, so we can do some more reporting on that. So now, Oscar, let's talk about this. First of all, I want you to back up and tell me what you have seen over the last couple of months regarding specifically illegal migrants coming up through Mexico. How is it affecting the Mexicans, the cartels? You know, basically what you were already talking about, but we weren't actually live yet.
Yes, Chuck, the Biden administration, the collateral damage that they have done is they have grown the cartel 3 times bigger and 3 times stronger in terms to trafficking. They're making huge amounts of money. And the cartel of Mexico has already expanded and they're already going into South America in cahoots and in connection with the Clan del Golfo, that this cartel from Colombia has already expanded to Turkey, smuggling a lot of Chinese in through the territory of the continent of America. In Mexico, you have a lot of decreased migration, and it is not as visible as it was before. The reason why is the cartel has completely taken over the parts of the south of the border, Tapachula, Cancun, the parts that they're landing, and ultimately from there they're decreasing them by taking them on private bands, also on special plane tickets to go to City of Mexico. From there, moving them on private vehicles all the way to the northern borders, and specifically to the borders that these cartel operates. Cartel Sinaloa operates more on the Baja territory, Sonora territory. Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación operates more on the Texas territory, New Mexico, and all the way to the end. So this has increased a lot. What it has caused, Chuck, it has caused the collateral damage of wars. The cartel are fighting, and specifically Arizona on the part of Sonora. This border with Arizona and Sonora is going through a cartel war right now. The cartel is fighting between these two cartels that I just mentioned. They're fighting for open border gaps. They're fighting for places where there's no border, where the migrants are jumping and through ladders, where the migrants are crossing, where there's an open border gap. They are fighting, and the collateral damage that it's causing is multiple deaths, multiple people are dying, and ultimately, not only that specifically the Mexican people are threatening, Chuck. So that's one of the things that is extremely critical.
Now, when you're reporting from the border, especially on the Tijuana side, where you live, are you? I mean, how do you know if the cartel is watching you? How do you keep from becoming a casualty? Because there have been a lot of journalists murdered by the cartels. How have you been doing this for so long and have managed to stay alive?
Well, I had I
Say that again.
There you go. You got me there?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. I pray to the Lord a lot, Chuck, since I started doing this reporting. A lot, and I have gotten into places where the coyotes and the traffickers have threatened my life. And I understood how and what hours and what to say and what not to say. As soon as you start affecting their pockets, that is when they get absolutely upset. If you don't affecting their pockets and also naming specifically who's doing it and who's not, they will leave you alone. They know that they're just there to report and so and so. It is the logic of everybody, and it's the logic of us to take the reporting to another side and to also understand who's doing it. But ultimately, I have gotten into places where my life almost got taken in Guatemala in the mountain. Ultimately in a firefight in the middle of the Darien. It has been several complications, but I believe that we have some angels of God.
You must.
Chuck, always with us, walking all the time.
Absolutely. When I was with you in Tijuana, I remember you saying like, "Oh, hey, you got to be real careful here," whatever. Like, obviously, what you can say, what you can't say, where you can go, where you can't go, and if you aren't careful, you're just not going to be around. We've seen like the muckracker guys that got grabbed as they were trying to cross back into Texas. I don't know. What's your feeling about how that went down? Do you think that was legit, like cartel guys, or was it just some gang members, or what was it?
Well, it's legitimately, if that happens to an average journalist, if they kidnap you, they will not release you. And the life expectancy of you being kidnapped as a journalist already recorded something that through that effect that already took the time for them to do an operation and the risk to.
Whoop. There you go. Go ahead.
to kidnap an international journalist, it will bring a lot of complications to them. So I do not believe that it was an actual, kidnapped situation like that.
Okay.
Possibly it was a group of people that they just took him for a little while and took him for a little ride. But I don't believe that it was actually something like that.
Okay. So let's pivot down to Panama. You've gotten really famous in Panama because of your going through the Darien Gap multiple times, and really bringing to light the scope of the crisis in Panama. The Panamanians really were not aware of what was going on down in the Darien Gap because the government was doing a very good job of hiding it. The government, what they do is, just so for people to understand, is that when these migrants come through the Darien Gap from Colombia into Panama, they don't get to stay in Panama. There are these camps down there in the jungle. They put them in these camps as soon as they can. They put them on a bus and they move them to Costa Rica. It's like the migrants become a hot potato as soon as they get to Panama, and all the governments don't want them, so they put them on a bus and move them to the next country further north, and they keep doing that all the way until they get to the United States. In Panama, since they don't stay there, they just basically get on a bus in the Darien and are driven straight to Costa Rica. The Panamanian people didn't see it, but it was costing, and it is costing the Panamanian people a lot of money. The other thing the Panamanian people were not aware of is the fact that the NGOs who are there at the request almost of the Panamanian government in many cases. They're there as guests of the Panamanian government in order to supposedly help the migrants. We're actually facilitating more illegal migration into Panama, and that you helped get that word out. Talk about what happened when you started hitting the NGOs. Talk about the NGOs you found, what they were doing, and what happened when you started bringing that to light.
Well, the job and the work that we have been doing inside of the Darien, I never thought that it was going to be this important and this critical, Chuck, for, the Panamanian people and also for the Panamanian authorities. Of course, on our side, we stand with law and order. And ultimately, other networks, they don't stand with law and order. They stand with the organized crime, with the cartel, with the bad people. And, one of the organizations and NGOs that they have been, outside of the Darien Gap, steps away outside of the Darien Gap, has been highest. OIM, Doctors Without Borders, all these NGOs. And I have been consistently going to these camps to say the inhuman conditions that they have the migrants on, because they make millions and millions and millions of dollars out of this global compact of migration that from Panama all the way to the United States of America, every country of transit has signed it on. And because of that, they are free of transit from south all the way to the north. Mm-hmm. And because of that, on my last trip, I went to this migrant camp that is called Bajo Chiquito, and the NGO of HIAS, HIAS
is the Hebrew Immigrant Assistance Service.
Yes, that one specifically. As soon as I entered the Darien, I was completely in shock. They had a map, Chuck, and on this map, they had how to enter from the Colombian side and which points to enter from the Colombian side. These 3 points are the most critical points of how to enter to the jungle, that is Capurganá, Acandí, and Turbo. These 3 places are controlled by the Clan del Golfo. So basically, HIAS, it is promoting these traffickers to continue to enter with the people right here. Ultimately, we found on that trip that there were these tourist packages, migrants that were telling us how much they were costing to smuggle them through these particular places, between $320, $340, and $350 per person. Even children, they're charging to that amount. So after we exposed that, HIAS, started getting extremely aggravated, and they started, sending other newspapers, other journalists, other international networks to basically question us. To see what we were doing down there, because they didn't like that actually we were exposing that map that basically is telling them how to traffic. That is a road of death. Why are you saying to people to go in there when multiple hundreds of migrants have died, been raped, been abused, and ultimately, been robbed?
Well, yeah, and these NGOs act like they're there to help, the poor migrants. I mean, you've been there. You can't help but feel for some of these migrants. They come out of that jungle after 5, 6 days in the jungle, and they're half dead. They're mostly dead, and some of them are dead. I mean, you've seen the bodies, and so you feel bad for them. But the problem is, if you're anything you do to make it easier for them means that more will come, and if more come, then more will die, and the cartels will get more and more powerful. And so it's not a good thing to help the migrants, especially if you're facilitating their movement through the jungle and making it faster, cheaper, and safer for them to get through, which is exactly what the United States government has done with under Alejandro Mayorkas, and in assistance with these NGOs like HIAS, ONA, or the IOM, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we've done some research, you and I, and have found some very interesting things about the funding of these NGOs. I'll just tell you, I mean, I tracked down where the International Organization for Migration, for example, receives funds from, it's a public-private partnership, so they get government funds from the United Nations, which is mostly funded by the United States, so the U.S. taxpayer, and they get funding from organizations like Open Society Foundation through George Soros. And that money goes directly to giving cash payments to these migrants to help them make their way north. You've seen that too. Talk about how these people pay for their trip going north.
Well, ultimately, Chuck, when they get out of the Darien Gap, there's private companies that they are buses. You already know this, and the quantity of amounts that they cost to pay the
$65 a person, I think.
$65 a person. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But from Costa Rica, that is. From the Costa Rica border, it starts the huge smuggling, the operandi of how much you're talking about, and giving away a total on an average migrant that is, talk about middle class, lower class migrant. Because in this kind of situation, you have social classes. You have the migrant that has a lot of money. Let's talk about the Chinese migrant that is basically spending between $30,000 to $35,000 to get all the way into the United States of America. The Afghani migrant ultimately also, and you have other exotic migrants that they pay a lot of quantities of money to get them all the way. But this average, average migrant, it pays between $4,000 to $5,000 on their trip, and they're struggling, Chuck. They're stopping. They're staying on hotels. They're living outside. They're asking for money. They're waiting for the Western Union to come in. And every Western Union takes away a lot of percentage, and they have to borrow names to get the money out, and all this kind of. So it's a market. It's a humongous market. Yeah. Not only that's another thing that a lot of these countries, because of these mom and pop businesses, these hotels, these little stores, that they know when the massive influx comes in, their sales go up by 100%, double. So they know that this is a new way of commerce. This is a new way of coming in and bringing another commerce and bringing another economy. So when you stop that, the average vendor and the average mom and pop business owner, they get a little bit like, hey, when are the migrants coming? And it's kind of like exactly the same as the tribes inside of the Darien Gap, the Indians, that they have dedicated themselves more into their culture, into farming. Now they dedicate themselves to the smuggling of migrants, and also guiding the migrants and through next village into next village. This has completely destroyed cultures and completely destroyed borders and businesses, Chuck. And now, and when they land into Mexico, that is the other market. That's the other market that is completely now the exact control of the cartel. And this is the bad thing about it, Chuck, that a lot of them trust the cartel too much, that they get extortion, they get kidnapped, and a lot of them, they don't make it. They have found mass graves close to the Arizona desert with, more than 10 to 15 bodies, presumably migrants from Haiti. A lot of them also migrants from in the desert, also in Sonora, migrants from Central America, South America, that they have been identified because they were with IDs in their clothes. The cartel takes them all the way to the borderline, and they say, you know what, it's not going to be 2,000, it's going to be 10,000, and this is the number that you can call right now, and you got to make it happen, because if not, I'm going to take away your life. And they end up taking their lives, Chuck, because they don't have enough money. So this is the collateral damage that I'm most talking to you, Chuck, about.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of people have never heard of these mass graves that you've uncovered just south of the U.S. southern border inside Mexico. I mean, you've told me about many of these, and it's unbelievable to me that these guys, they might travel from Somalia or from Congo or from Indonesia or someplace like that. They make it all the way up almost to the border and end up getting murdered by the cartel, because once they get to the border, then they've squeezed every dollar out of them they're going to get. That is absolutely tragic. And again, it is the fault of Mayorkas and the Biden administration and these NGOs that is making it look. They're selling these people a bill of goods. The people are believing a lie that they have to come to the United States to have a good life. That is an absolute lie. You don't have to go to the United States to have a good life. They could have a good life in many, many places around the globe, even if they need to flee their own country. But they're being lied to and drawn to the United States. And in so doing, many of them do lose their lives. Now, folks, I want to put up Oscar's little buy me a coffee thing. You can go to the link I just put up in the chat, and you can buy Oscar a coffee. We're trying to raise money so that he can get to Armenia on one of our Armenia trips. And so, Oscar lives in Tijuana, Mexico, and he has integrity and is not going to jump the fence illegally into the United States to try to make more money. But buy him a coffee there at that link, and he'll be able to not only support his family, but continue to do his reporting. Oscar is completely self-funded, whereas I've got, clients like Newsmax and CBN. Oscar doesn't get paid by the different organizations that he does reporting for. He raises money through his YouTube channel, through his lives that he does. So go over to Oscar's YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link for that up as well, and subscribe to that YouTube channel, because again, that's going to help Oscar with things like it's going to help him with sponsorships and things like that, so he can keep doing his work. And it's very important work that he is doing. And this is a first source journalist. I talk about this a lot among my journalist friends, that so much of what journalism has become today is journalists interviewing other journalists. And I do that plenty as I'm trying to bring you information, but I want to bring you the first source journalists who are really on the ground in places where I can't be. There's just not enough time for me to go everywhere. I have been, Oscar, good grief. I've been on the road 200 plus days a year. 200.
I have said, Chuck, that you travel on a portal. You don't travel on a plane.
I wish.
Starship.
I wish. I need a private jet or something to get around quicker. But I just can't be everywhere at once. And Oscar is doing great work bringing to light what is actually happening with the migration crisis, and he's not even an American citizen. So this is directly affecting the upcoming elections in the United States, and that's why I think it's so important for us to have him on. So go over there and hit subscribe on Oscar's channel. Just put the link up in the comments there. So Oscar, now tell me about your last trip to the Darien Gap. What did you see? How have things changed since your first trip through there?
Well, this was our fourth trip.
Four times.
Yeah, 4 times. This is our 4 times inside of the Darien. And this time we went up to the Mountain of Death. It is almost 2,300 feet. It is a really steep, dangerous, slippery, muddy And it's just bad, Chuck. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
bad. And we
Somebody said
saw,
it's like climbing a 150-story building made of mud.
yeah, it's basically like that. And we saw a lot of we discovered a lot of the situations. We discovered the wristbands that the cartel that is using on the other side of Colombia that they're giving out to the migrants, that they are offering these packages between $320, $340, $350. But in the wristbands, Chuck, it says security all the way to Panama. It's just crazy the way that they're describing. It's just exactly what they have found in the United States, but it's just exactly what they're doing from the Colombian to the Panamanian border.
Yeah, really crazy. I mean, folks, if you don't understand what he's talking about there, the cartel itself is known for. Oscar just left.
No,
That's all right.
I want to bring the wristband.
Oh, okay.
Chuck.
The cartel itself are the ones who rob and rape the people going through the Darien Gap. But now what they're doing is they're offering protection. You won't get robbed if you buy this wristband for $350 per person to go through there. So they're pre-robbing the people by charging them $350 to promise not to rob them when they go through. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. And they promised them security. Right here it says seguridad. Right there, they're promising security all the way to Panama. That is, it's unbelievable that discovery. But not only that, we found a lot of used condoms, Chuck. Used condoms. It's just so bad. And it tells you that is an epicenter for abuse.
Well, we know. I mean, we've talked to so many women who have been raped going through there. And the saddest thing that I can recall was one time I was in Necoclí, which is on the Colombian side, as you know. It's the trailhead, so to speak, where they start their journey through the gap. And there was this beautiful Haitian woman. She was about 6 feet tall, just gorgeous, just a beautiful woman. And I told her as she was getting on the boat, I said, "Don't do this. Don't go through there." I said, "You're going to get You're going to get raped." I said, they rape any beautiful woman going through there, and most of the ugly ones. And I said, "So you're going to get raped if you go in there." And she just looked at me and she just kind of went like this. And she said, "If that's the price I have to pay, then I'm willing to do it."
That's the sad thing about it, Chuck.
It's so sad. It's so sad. But I remember watching some of the GoPro video that you brought out of the Gap from your your second time through, where the poor girl, the one that ended up getting shot, was, you ran into her and she's just crying because she had just been sexually assaulted just 15 minutes up the trail. And, you were talking to her, and I remembered just how angry you were telling me about that. Tell that story. The story of the firefight and all that.
It's one of the stories that stays in my mind, Chuck. That I had a couple of stories that they stay in my mind. One of them is carrying a child for multiple hours, but that one also, ultimately, it was sad. We were just a few moments away from Center Front, and us that we were recording, approaching the criminals that they were stealing, robbing, and raping women. And on this, we were sitting down quiet. We were kneeling down because Center Front was doing their operation. And this group of people, around like 15 migrants, came in, all of them crying, men, women crying. And I asked, "Is everybody okay?" And they said, "Yes, we are okay." But, they took away, they robbed us and all this. And I ask this question all the time: was a woman abused? And immediately they said, "Yes, there's one." And they pointed all the way to the back. I told the guy, "Can you bring her all the way to the front?" She came all the way to the front. She could not even talk, Chuck. She was completely in shock. She was trembling. She was scared. She described me with her hands what they did to her. They took away her clothes. Later on, they explained to me that they took away their clothes. They made her open her legs, did all kinds of disgusting and horrible stuff to this young lady. She was 19 years of age, Chuck. I hugged her. I prayed for her, and I told her, "Don't worry. These guys are angels. They're going to catch them." And
you mean the Center Front guys?
Yes. And the authorities are going to get them, and that's what happened, Chuck. They put them on the right place at the right time to catch these people that they were doing this so much harm. But it's so bad, Chuck, when you see these kind of stories, and you talk to them, and it's just irreparable damage, Chuck. It is never going to go away. It's never going to go away. That's the sad thing about it.
Well, and then you went from there. They went for 15 minutes further up the trail and actually caught the cartel members in the act of robbing these people and called them out. The Center Front is like the border police in Panama. They were armed, so they had a squad of Center Front guys, surrounded these cartel members and told them to surrender, and they started shooting. And it's some of the most incredible footage that you brought out of there of you guys taking cover as bullets went whipping by. And I know what it sounds like when a bullet is close, and those were close. And they ended up killing one of the smugglers and capturing several more. And I remember that you were so angry. You told those guys, "Can I just have a minute with these smugglers?" And you were like, "I just would like to have a minute alone with these guys." And I don't blame you.
They handle things differently in Mexico, Chuck. So that's why they were really peaceful. And I said, no, that's not the way that we handle people like this in our country of Mexico.
So you're not only doing very good reporting on that, but you're actually you were the catalyst in that case for these smugglers getting taken out of the game and saving some lives there in the Darien Gap. Again, you have to feel very sorry for these people because we support these women in Colombia who are Venezuelan migrants that have left Venezuela because there was no food, but they're making a living. They're doing okay in Colombia. They can make a life in Colombia. They don't have to walk through the Darien Gap and go to the United States to make a living. And one of the things that I've been reading about lately is just the incredible deleterious effect, the negative effect that it has on U.S. workers to bring a lot of people here in the chat, in the comments were asking how many people have come across the border illegally. And since the Biden administration took office, we don't know the exact numbers because we don't know the numbers of unknown gotaways. But if you add up the number of people that turned themselves into Border Patrol, people were captured by Border Patrol, people who were flown into the country without even crossing the border, at the southern border, and the known gotaways and the suspected unknown gotaways, you're talking about at least 7 million people, which brings the total. There were already 22 million illegal immigrants in the United States up until that point. So now you're talking about close to 30 million illegals in the United States, which is nearly 10% of the U.S. population at this point. There comes a point in a country's, when this happens, there comes a tipping point where the tail starts to wag the dog, where the migrants start to collapse the social systems of the country they're going to, and it doesn't become quite so, exciting anymore because all of that free stuff goes away. It's always fun to spend other people's money until you run out of it, and once you run out of other people's money, then it's just not so fun anymore. So in a way, these migrants they're parasites on the United States economy. Now, they do actually just their very presence actually assists. Makes the numbers look better in some ways because if you figure out how gross domestic product works and things like that, we would have lost workers in the U.S. workforce if it weren't for all of the illegals coming in and taking jobs. And so we have more people working. That's more money into the tax coffers, that sort of thing. But that comes at a great cost because of the cost to the social welfare system, because these people the social welfare system in America is supposed to work like this. You're out of a job, you get unemployment, that keeps you afloat while you look for a new job, and once you get a new job, you stop getting unemployment, and then you go on to become a productive member of society. But that's not how migrants do it. Because what they do is they game the system so they get on unemployment, not just federally, but on state programs. There are some church programs, there are city programs, and they know how to get on the programs of multiple states at once and collect money from multiple programs at once and the federal government. Then they go get jobs, but they get them under the table so that they don't report and they don't pay taxes. So they're not paying taxes to the federal government. They're not contributing to the system. They're only taking from the system, and because of that, it is a huge drain on the economy of the United States to have all these people in there. But it's worse than that because we have this thing called the Tren de la Agua now. So explain to people what the Tren de la Agua is and why it should be of such concern.
Back in 2021, Chuck, I believe I was in one of the caravans that I walked, and I reported on that year that I was walking on one of them, one of the most violent caravans that I have been. And I said, this gang, it is coming. And I found it through the migrants. The migrants were telling me, we have a lot of Tren de Aragua on this caravan. And I started, investigating on these guys. And these people were the ones that they closed one of the most important roads that connect from the state of Chiapas all the way to Guatemala. They closed the customs, station, the most important customs station from this place to another for 3 days. And they cost multiple millions of pesos. They destroyed the whole installations from inside until they got their permits. And I said, and even I have something on recording, Chuck. I was recording on a live stream. I was pointing to the National Guard, and a guy just came in, one of these Tren de Aragua guys, and said, if there's no papers, there's going to be blood. I have a knife here, so I'm going to, there's going to be blood driven. So I knew by that point, I started calling out and saying, these people are coming. And those people, Chuck, more than likely, they're already in the United States. As right now,
no question.
This is one of the most violent gangs, as assimilation to say, it's like the MS-13, MS-18, more aggravating because they're cartel extremely related. They dedicate themselves to sicario activity, to extortioning, to kidnapping. That is the number one thing. And guess what? That is actually what is happening in New York. You're seeing this operandi in New York about extortioning, robbing, stealing. It is the same operation that they're doing in Venezuela. Now they're profiting because they know that the cost of living in the United States is much higher. So they know that a lot of people carry money and carry pocket money, so they know that they have a vast majority of opportunity to steal. These kind of individuals are already in the United States. This is the aggravated situation because you don't have a filter. You're not filtering people, and it's not only the United States' fault, it's all the country's fault. A lot of people blame Mexico. What about, Honduras? What about Nicaragua? What about Guatemala? What about Costa Rica? That they're not filtering these people, and that's why we need a filter on every border to know who's coming in and who's coming out. But yes, Chuck, there's a lot of these people that are already in the United States.
Yeah, so Tren de la Aragua is MS-13 on steroids, okay? MS-13, yes. One of the worst transnational criminal organizations on the planet. And they have been diminished quite a lot lately because the El Salvadoran government has finally taken a hard line against them, a mano duro, as they say, a hard hand. And they have put 80,000 gang members in prison in El Salvador. So that's helped to diminish their reach as a transnational criminal organization. But there's an up-and-coming TCO, which is called Tren de Aragua, and it is a Venezuelan gang, very brutal, and they're already in the United States. They're perpetrating home invasions in New Jersey and New York and Florida and Los Angeles and Chicago. Those are the ones I know about. There probably are more. They have gangs that are stealing cars, stealing cell phones, stealing purses, and assaulting people on the streets of New York and other places. And so this is a real concern. So the whole argument of, hey, we're all migrants here, we need to be, loving to these people. How do you answer that? Because I remember just recently I saw a video of you getting into it with a New York Times reporter about that. and you really let him have it. Tell me, what do you say when people say, "Oh, well, there's a migrant there. Nobody's illegal. There's no human being is illegal. We should just love these people, et cetera, et cetera." What's your answer to that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-migrant. I'm a migrant myself, so every time that I travel, I'm a migrant. I believe that migration is a human right, but in those human rights, there's laws, and we need to obey those laws, and we need to obey those processes and respect the law. But ultimately, I understand that as a Latino, as a Mexican, we this is a weaponized migration. They're using us for a political purpose, and you are seeing it absolutely right now. They
That's
are
right.
using our vulnerabilities. They are using because they know that we are poor. They're using us because we know that we need education, we need a better life. And instead of incentivizing and fixing our countries or helping us to create better jobs, better industries, and make, bring in manufacturing companies to offer better jobs in our countries, what they do is expanding and exposing all these people to out of their countries and making them migrate through these horrible conditions. And specifically, they're using us, Chuck, and we're sick and tired of it. We're
Yeah.
just sick and tired of the and I say it like this, Chuck. We're sick and tired of the American progressive mercenary liberal just coming over to our countries and progressively bringing all their hate and their political trash to help their political agenda in the United States. We have a
That's
lot
right.
of problems over here, Chuck. We have problems with the cartel, organized crime, poverty, education. Instead of creating that division, why don't we help each other and create better atmosphere for people? You can ask people from Venezuela, if the economy was good in Venezuela, would you leave Venezuela? They tell you, are you crazy? We have the most beautiful beaches, the most beautiful places, in the world. You can ask a Cuban like that. You can ask old people like that, and they will actually tell you, I will prefer to stay in my
Yeah.
country. So, it's actually what is happening right now, Chuck. You're seeing it that they are using to destabilize cities. Now migrants are protesting in New York, and it's going to get more critical as elections are going to come. And as if you see Trump going up in the polls 5 to 6 to 7%, more critical it is going to be used as they use the Democrats. They use Black Lives Matter and they use the African American population last time to destabilize the country. Now they have a really vulnerable population that they can actually use, and they under the assumption of being humanitarian and not deporting them or not returning them all. So it's a clear strategy to bring all these people in under the humanitarian idea that they're going to help them, but and in another way they're being used, Chuck, and that is the number one thing that we are just sick and tired of that, Chuck. And it's just
Yeah.
we don't want handouts, we want work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it would be much cheaper and much safer and much better if we could assist Mexico, assist Guatemala, assist Congo. I mean, all the places where people are coming from, and help them take care of their own countries. I can't tell you how many times I've had Venezuelans come to me and say, especially during the Trump administration, "Why doesn't your president send the army down here to kick out Maduro?" And I just say, "Why? Are there no men in Venezuela? Like, is there nobody with a set of cojones in Venezuela that can rise up and can kick out this dictator and make your country better? Why do I have to send my son to bleed and die for Venezuela if nobody in Venezuela is willing to do it?" And if we had a more coherent foreign policy in the United States, if we had a less feckless immigration policy, if we were really more about actually trying to help people, it would be much easier to help them, much cheaper to help them in their own countries, help them stay there and contribute to their own countries. And we could even do it in a way that would allow American companies to profit from that. So all we have to do is put benefits in place, incentives in place for American companies to hire remotely. So hire Oscar as a call center employee in Mexico. And he speaks good English, so he's much better than, yes, very good. How can I help you? Helping you today, that kind of thing. And by doing so, then Oscar gets to stay there in his community and help his own community, help his own family. They were so upset about, they called it family separation under the Trump administration, when the real family separation is encouraging all these young military age males to leave their country of origin and come to the United States just to get a better job, and then leave their women and children behind and not be able to see them for years. I know a guy that is from Pakistan, came through the Darien Gap and came to the United States. He's been in the United States nearly 10 years now and has not been home to see his wife and his son since he left. And that's because he would have to start over trying to get his legal residency in the United States. That is what you call a broken system. And how is the current government in Mexico benefiting from this broken system themselves? And because I see them basically extracting promises, benefits, whatever, things like that from the U.S. government every time the U.S. government wants them to do what they ought to be doing anyway. What do you say about that?
Well, the problem is that the Mexican government right now, and AMLO knows that the United States has a weak leader, and they know that they can actually put conditions. When have you seen a Mexican president actually stand up and put a conditions in this particular manner with actually having the audacity to say no, this, and that? It always has been a negotiable way to address the United States, because the power of the United States. But actually, the migration in Mexico, it is impossible to stop it, Chuck, and I will tell you why. Under the administration of Enrique Peña Nieto, back then, with Barack Obama brought the Global Compact on Migration to the West, Enrique Peña Nieto signed it, and he completely reformed Article 11 of the Constitution of Mexico, saying, and he added 2 paragraphs, migrants can actually come and ask for asylum under international treaty. What is the international treaty? The Global Compact on Migration. So actually, it is already in our Constitution. That's why I have been completely saying to the American people, you need to get out of this, because it's going to completely, and it's already overruling your immigration law. It looks like the ones that they're in charge of your border, it is the United Nations, because the Border Patrol has become a processing unit. So
that's right. They're not law enforcement anymore. They're just a welcome wagon.
Yes. And the ones that they take care of the migrants and they distribute them are the NGOs. So that's under the wing of the United Nations. Yeah. So basically, what it needs to be done, Chuck, to control this massive flow, it's increased border security. First and foremost, the United States needs to get out of the Global Compact on Migration, cut the funding of the NGOs, immediately start doing deep investigation to these NGOs, prosecuting for these NGOs, because a lot of them, they were in cahoots with the cartels, cut the whole funding, get out of the Global Compact on Migration, border security to the extreme, bring law and order again, and if Mexico does not want to decrease, again, the influx of migrants and control their cartel activity in their borders. There was one thing that the past president did, and it worked, and it's hit them in the pockets, put a threat of a tariff in their territory. If you're not going to fix it, 5% of the automobile industry, that is the most lucrative industry in the world, the most manufacturing industry, the manufacturing industry of automobiles is in Mexico. You got Toyota, Mazda, Honda, Chevrolet, all the big guys, all the ones that they control the spider web of the economy, of the majority of the industry of the economy of the world, the automobile industry. The manufacturing is in Mexico, so you will hit them in the pockets, and immediately they will fix it. So that's one of the things that needs to be done, Chuck, immediately.
You're talking about the maquiladoras just across the border.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, okay. So, you're right. I mean, we did stop it. We did close the border. We know we can do it. We know Mexico can do it, because when they're properly motivated, they will close the border. We just have to properly motivate them. And the former president, President Trump, did so, and it worked. But again, as you just pointed out, the current administration has very specific reasons why they want illegal migrants in the United States. It makes the economy look better in certain ways. It lets them hold up certain numbers economically and say, look at the job growth in the United States. Did you know that, just last week or the week before, we had a new jobs report come out, and it was greater than they thought it would be. It was like, wow, look how many jobs are being created. That's like the one main metric that the Biden administration likes to point to say, look what a great presidency we've been. Look at the number of jobs President Biden has created. Well, the vast majority of those jobs have gone to illegal immigrants. And as I said, if it wasn't for illegal immigration into the United States, we would have lost 2.1 million jobs since Joe Biden took office. And so the job growth that we're seeing, the problem is it's not job growth among Americans, it's job growth among people coming from all over the world and taking jobs away from Americans, or at least reducing what Americans get paid for the jobs that they do. And that is a real big problem. So I want to just, again, point out, look, Oscar didn't ask me to do this. This was my idea. I wanted to have Oscar on because Oscar is a fantastic journalist, one of the most hardworking journalists I've ever met. And he definitely deserves your support. So if you have a choice to support my channel or go support Oscar, please go support Oscar before you support me. Because I want Oscar to be able to get the word out. He is literally putting his life on the line to do so. And we want him to be able to travel with us some more and bring you very good reporting from other places around the world. So whatever we can raise for Oscar through this is going to help Oscar get to Armenia with us. And so you can donate here on YouTube. You can go to Oscar's Buy Me a Coffee, which I've just put the link up there. Or you can go to Oscar's YouTube channel and follow him there, or on Twitter and elsewhere. I don't know, wherever else you put your stuff up. But again, Oscar didn't ask me to do that. I just really believe in Oscar. I believe in what he's doing. And I really think that, he deserves your support. So please go like and subscribe and do all those fun things. But also, if you're going to donate to keep somebody out in the field, Oscar's the one to donate to. Okay, so... Brother, I love you. It's been about an hour, and I told you I wouldn't keep you too long because you got to get your car worked on or something like that. Oscar's got a really awesome Jeep, by the way.
Not like your bad boy, Chuck. Come on, that's the dream car, man.
Anyway, my friend, it's very, very good to have you on, and I really hope we can spend more time together out in the field, because I always learn a lot when I'm out traveling with you, mostly about how to travel in style. I take Oscar to these 5-star resorts, and he just always walks in and goes like, what is this? Like, this is not up to my standards. And
it's not. Oh my God. It's just beautiful. Chuck,
tell them, I want to hear from your point of view. Tell them about our trip to France. When we went to France last year.
It's for everybody in the audience that is watching, I love this man. He's my mentor, and I have learned so much from him. The most beautiful thing about this is that you learn from history when you're with him. So it's not about just learning how he does his reporting and all you're learning as a journalist, but you learn about history. And when we were in France, he just told me, we're going to this 2-star hotel, Oscar. It's bad. It's not up to your standards.
I got to warn you, it's bad.
It's really bad. It's not up to your standards. So I don't care, Chuck. We can sleep in the car. I don't care. And we arrived, and it was just this. I was like, what the hell is this? It was just the guy that it was just inside attending us. He was dressed with a tie. Everything was so nice. The buffet in the morning, Chuck. My God. The best buffet was the other one, that it was next to a castle on the road. Remember that one? Yep. I don't remember that hotel. That was so
outside of Versailles.
God. Yes. And it was like a ratatouille buffet. It was I was like, you have to be kidding me, man. This is not up to my standards.
Yeah, you always stay at hotels like that in Mexico, don't you?
Oh yeah, this is an average taco shop for me, man. I enjoy your travel. I miss you so much, Chuck. I hope that I can travel with you soon, man.
Well, we're trying to raise money so you can do that. And like I say, folks, you can go over to Oscar's channel or you can donate here, whatever we raise here. I'm going to send to Oscar. Yeah, I mean, I'm usually the king of like $9 hotels. But when we went to France, it's kind of hard to find a cheap hotel in France that isn't overrun with migrants. And so we actually ended up in some pretty nice places while we were there. Of course, it's France, so what do you expect? All right. So and the other great experience we had together was the sauna in Ukraine. Oscar, we had to say, Oscar, no, you don't go naked. Dude. Like, Oscar, put your shorts on. Come on, man.
I'm a Latino, Chuck. What do you want me to do?
That was a good time.
That was a good time. Yes, that was
well.
awesome.
Thank you very much for coming on, and folks, I hope you'll go over and subscribe to Oscar's channel. He does a lot of great reporting whenever there's some major thing that comes out about immigration that has to do with immigration, whether it's in the United States or a caravan coming north or whatever. Oscar is the one that's covering that. And so I always call Oscar and say, hey, what's going on down there? And he's always got good information. So you can get it straight from the horse's mouth from Oscar Blue Ramirez. Oscar, any last words?
Well, God bless you, Chuck. Thank you so much for bringing the Lord into my life, more stronger than ever. I look up to you a lot, so I'm always watching everything that you're doing. For everybody that is watching, he's the best war correspondent right now that is out there. So be sure to be sharing all his stuff every time that he's in Israel, man. It's addictive to see that, man. It's just
I just as we go, I'll tell this last story because this is when Oscar almost got killed in Israel, and he almost got killed in one of the most sacred places on earth, in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, one of the burial sites they believe may be the site where Jesus himself, where his tomb was, and the place where they think that he was buried. There's a little church, a tiny little chapel, just like the size of a walk-in closet, that's built inside of the bigger church called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And so you can go in there, and typically that place is just packed with people, and you can barely get through, and they don't even let you go inside the sepulcher because it's just too small in there, but you can kind of peek in as you go by. But when Oscar came with me to Israel, we were the only people in there, and we walked in and there was nobody else around. So we got to go inside the sepulcher, right into the tomb, where the spot where they say Jesus himself was buried. And Oscar was just kind of overcome by that. I mean, it's a very emotional place to be. And so he said, hey, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pray for my family in here. And I said, sure. I'll just step out and I'll wait for you outside. So I went outside, and Oscar's in there by himself. Now there's two chambers inside the sepulcher. The first one is like this little entryway that's really just maybe 4 feet square. I mean, it's real small. And then the actual tomb part is back behind that. And it's dark and very difficult to see in there from outside where it's brighter. So I went out and sat down on a bench, and there was nobody around. I was just sitting there. And all of a sudden, this big group of people came busting through the door making all kinds of noise, and security guys with like the little curly ear things, and the whole camera crew, and they're all taking pictures and video and stuff of this one kind of older woman, maybe 60 plus years old. And I was like, is she filming a travel documentary or something? Because this brown haired lady, and she's like, doing this and like, oh, wow, acting all interested and everything. And then I hear her say, so what is this place? And one of the security guys was, well, ma'am, this is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre where Jesus was buried, And she's like, oh, well, can I go in there? And he said, well, just a moment, ma'am, just a moment. Let me check and make sure it's safe. So he went over and stuck his head in the sepulcher and didn't see Oscar back there. Oscar, who happens to look a little bit like a Palestinian, with his dark, his olive complexion and his beard and everything. Oscar's back inside there praying in the dark. So he sticks his head in there and he goes, "Okay, ma'am, it's safe. I think you can go in now." So she's just starting to walk in to this place, and Oscar comes, he must have heard the commotion or whatever. He comes busting out of there and just about bumps right into this lady. And the security guards are all like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hang on, you, whoa, whoa, hey, hey, hey," you know. And I jumped up and I was like, "Don't kill him, don't kill him. It's okay, it's all right. He's with me.
Plumber, Chuck.
He's Mexican. He's Mexican. He's not Palestinian." And the guy's like, "Oh, geez," you know, and like he totally did not see Oscar back inside there. And so Oscar could have stabbed that lady, and you know, nobody would have ever been able to stop him. So then I asked one of the security guards, I said, "Hey, who is that lady anyway?" And he said, "Oh, that's Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York." And I mean, you know, the governor of New York, who had just signed a bill not long ago that allows abortion after birth. Okay, so people can literally commit infanticide in New York and murder their born children at this point, you know. And I said back to the security guard, I said, "Wow, I'm surprised she didn't catch fire when she stepped into that too." But anyway, so that was our great adventure in Israel, and I hope we have a lot more adventures to come, Oscar. So thank you very much for being a part of our show today, and God bless you, brother. We'll be in touch. And folks, if you have any, we do have a couple spaces left. If you'd like to go to Armenia with Oscar and me, you can come. Just send me an email, hotzoneholton@gmail.com, hotzoneholton@gmail.com, and you can come with us. Me and my wife and Oscar and a bunch of other people are going to take a tour of Armenia in May, June, and September this year. Take your pick. And we would love to have you. So God bless you. We'll be talking more about Israel and what's going on there with the strike that they did on Iran last night. So we'll be talking more about that on the next live. So stay tuned. All right. Take care. And Oscar, I love you, brother. We'll see you later.
Thank you so much, Chuck, for the invitation.
All right. Bye-bye.